to Karen Canfield, Vice Chair of Town of Scituate Select Board. Karen, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair Barrett, and to Chair Roy for the opportunity to address the committee. As you said, I'm Karen Canfield. I'm a member of the Select Board here in Scituate. I'm delighted to follow Mr. Daugherty because he's set the groundwork of what we're dealing with. I'm here also to strongly encourage the committee to favorably report out on H3373 and act relieving the adverse effects for wind energy as soon as possible. This legislation is vital to addressing the unanticipated consequences of land turbines located near residential homes. As you heard in Alicia Barton's testimony earlier today, now is the time when we need to move to the next generation of ideas for managing our renewable energy policy. Lisa Grabowski outlined the mechanics, so I just want to talk about why this is so important to communities. It's important because even as Mr. Daugherty has outlined, even though through thorough due diligence, rigorous permitting, and the very best intentions, you cannot know how a siting of a turbine is going to impact a community until the operation begins. That's what happened in Scituate. Just a little brief background. Our town unfortunately leads the Commonwealth in receiving FEMA funds to rebuild after coastal storms exacerbated by climate change. As a community, we highly value expanding renewable wind and other carbon-reducing energy sources. That is why the town went through the very long process beginning in 2005 and culminating when operations began in 2012 to site a turbine in Scituate. However, immediately after the operations began, so did the complaints, as you heard from Mr. Daugherty, and they have never stopped. The complaints are entirely related to negative health impacts resulting from the operation of the turbine: headaches, nausea, lack of sleep. One resident, unfortunately, suffered a heart attack that his doctor attributed to the turbine's operation. Our town has commissioned study after study to determine whether or not the turbine is operating within DEP guidelines. If it weren't, the operator would be required to fix it. Unfortunately, the turbine does operate within these, but that doesn't mean our residents aren't impacted. As Mr. Daugherty said, this winter, the Select Board chose to cease operations every night from May to October to address the times and conditions that most complaints have been received. The shutdown is going to cost our town almost $100,000 a year. It's a good start to address the medical problems, but it doesn't address the whole problem. It does not provide enough relief for residents who live at the base of the turbine. They feel vibration, see flicker, and have sleep interruption constantly. Last year, the father of one of these families was before this very committee pleading for help. The bill that's proposed would allow citizens, businesses, and municipalities to seek compensation for the detrimental effects of wind turbine siting that may not be evident until the operation begins. This family needs that opportunity, and our town needs that support. I want to thank Rep. Vieira for filing this bill session after session, and I especially want to thank our representatives, Senator O'Connor and Representative Kearney, for joining as co-sponsors. As the Commonwealth expands its reliance on wind energy, this bill will provide a way to address any unforeseen negative impacts of those sightings. Again, thank you for this time. I encourage the committee to report this bill out favorably as soon as possible so that we can continue to expand renewable wind resources and also provide resources to protect public health if something goes wrong. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Any questions from members of the committee? Seeing none, I thank you for your testimony and look forward to seeing you around the State House at some point in the near future. Thank you so much. Our next